If you guys are still playing FC24 and you want some cheap coins, make sure you check out MMOEXP.com. Their link is down in the description. They're very cheap, they're very reliable, and if you do use my code Rema, it will give you a lovely 5% discount off your order. So, what's up guys, it's Ash here and welcome back to a brand new video. Hope you guys are all having a great day, great weekend, and yeah, today we have some tactics for the 4-4-2 formation with the player instructions of course, that I hope will help you out in FC24 if you are playing over the weekend. I'm going to be honest with you guys, I don't think I'll be playing much Sunday, the Euros final, and me being an England supporter, of course, an Englishman, I'm going to be pretty booked for that day, but yeah, I hope you guys do like these if you are playing. And yeah, let's get right into the video, guys. Hope you enjoy. Alright then, guys, so for the tactics, defensive style, as always guys, we pop this on balanced. The reason we do this is because it does give us the best control when we are defending. So when you want to be aggressive and press your opponent, for example, you can do that. And then when you want to be more passive, conservative, and maybe sit back a bit, you can also do that. So I like the control that balance gives you. I know a lot of people prefer pressure tactics, and that is fine. So if you want to use any of these, go right ahead. But me personally, I always say to use balanced, as I think it is, well, the most balanced and the best. Moving on to the defensive width, guys, the number that I found to be the sweet spot in recent weeks, and it did help me go 20-0 last week, is 35. Now, the reason I like it so much is because it keeps your defense really nice and narrow and compact, which makes it very difficult for an opponent to play right through the middle of you. It doesn't give them many opportunities to go straight through on goal. They have to resort to the wings, and even then, we have decent coverage of the wider areas as well. Like, for example, when an opponent switches the play, your wide players can get out to the wings very quickly, you know, even though you're in a bit more of a narrow shape. So it's really, really solid through the middle, and also more solid than you'd think down the wings as well. So I really like 35 width, but if you guys feel like you want to adjust that, then that is absolutely fine. You do you. Moving on to the depth, this is another one of those preference settings, to be honest with you. A lot of people are rocking 100 depth at the moment. Now, the reason people rock this is because if you look at the defensive line, you'll see it is past the strikers on the other team. So it's a very, very high defensive line. But the added bonus of 100 depth is it's very assisted by the AI. So what the AI does is press your opponent very high. They mark every pass, congest the middle area, and it makes it very difficult for you to attack. So a lot of people like this, you know, and another variation of this is the 71 depth, where you still have that same pressing thing I was talking about. The defensive line is just a bit lower. As you can see, it's now behind the attackers instead of in front. So a lot of people like 171 depth, but me personally, I like something like 65, where we don't have that and we have more control over when we're pressing, because I like to manually defend as much as possible, so I feel like I've got more control. I feel like the 71 depth and that is very restricted if you're a top player. So I would just pick something that you're comfortable with this, to be honest. For the build-up play, I recommend balanced, as I find it to be the most consistent and also the most varied way to build up. When you use balanced, guys, you can pretty much mix and match between all the build-up styles in the game. So if you want to start off slow, for example, you can do that, and then if you want to switch it up, maybe play a bit quicker, you can also do that. So balance just allows you to, you know, flick in between all of these styles whenever you want. I also just think it gives you the best AI. I think all of these individual settings, to be honest, are pretty poor, bar long ball, which I don't really use. The one long ball, you do notice a bit of a difference if you play that style, but most people, you know, just want to use balance and stuff like that. So I would recommend this. For the chance creation, direct passing is an absolute must in my opinion. It is the only way to consistently break through the park the bus defenses and the park the bus AI in FC24. Now, the reason this is the case is because direct passing is like a very push forward, track back kind of movement. So what happens is your attackers, they make runs, defenders follow the attackers making the run, and then once the defender has committed to the run that the attacker has made, the attacker then tracks back. So it creates space between the defenders and the attackers, which means people can cut back or pass across, which, you know, is the meta of this game, and it's very important to use even if it is boring. Now, for the attacking width, I have this on 55. It's really nice and balanced. But all you really need to know about the attacking width is the lower the width, the more narrow your attack, and the higher the width, the wider your attack. So I won't go too extreme either way, but pick something that you like. and just experiment with different numbers, because they do make a difference, believe it or not. I found it really difficult to attack when I was using 70 width. It was just too wide, and when I lowered it, it was much better. Yeah, so moving on to the players in the box, we have this on 7 at the moment. This so can get quite a few players into that penalty area, but we don't completely overcommit to the point where if we lose out on possession, we're not always going to get counter-attacked, and you know, that's really annoying, so you don't want that to happen. For the corners and the free kicks, I'm currently rocking them on 2, but you know, this is all down to what you prefer. If you have any specific corner routines that require a specific number, just use whichever one you want. Now, moving on to the player instructions, guys. On both of the strikers, we have them on stay central and get in behind. I think it's important to keep them on stay central because it means that they're always reliable. They're always in the correct position. If you have them on balance width in this game, these players can get a little bit lost, and I don't always like it. So stay central just means that they're always going to be in that striker position where you'd want them to be, and you always know where they are. So I think that's very important. And even more important is get in behind. Now, the reason getting behind is so important is because it forces runs out of your strikers. If you're playing against somebody that is using a pressure tactic and you're using mixed attack, for example, your players just don't know how to move. They don't do anything. So getting behind is very important, especially against those high pressure teams that you can play against. So stay central, getting behind for these two strikers. Now for the right mid and the left mid, guys, pretty much use whoever you want here, of course. We have them on come back on defense, cut inside, get in behind, and get into the box across. Come back on defense just ensures that they take up the correct position when we don't have the ball. If you have a player that doesn't have the perfect defensive work rate, they can be very lazy when you lose the ball. They might not sit into that position correctly, so come back on defense just kind of forces them to get back into the right position. Cut inside's a movement I like as well. It means these players start their runs out in the wider areas and then transition into the more narrow areas next to the strikers and get in the channels, which is really useful. I like this, but you don't have to use this. We also have them on get in behind, so obviously they force runs. Similar to the strikers, mixed attack or balance support, they don't do all that much. And then get into the box across, so they actually commit into the penalty area, and you actually have people in there other than your strikers to help you finish off your chances. For the left centre mid, I use a more defensive-minded midfielder. I think it's important to have that balance in those two centre mid roles. I always say have one defensive player and then a more box-to-box player next to them. It just works a lot better in my opinion. So on this player, the more defensive one, stay back, cover centre. Pretty simple. Don't want him going forward. He's the more defensive player, brings that balance. And then cover centre, cover the middle, as we don't need him to cover the wing, as we already have the wide players to do that. For the right centre mid, the more box-to-box player, I have them on get into the box across and cover centre and balanced attack. So balanced attack's important because, like I said, they're box-to-box. You want them to attack and defend. You don't just want them to stay back. And then I actually like having them on get into the box across because they make these extra runs, which can be difficult for the defenders to pick up. And it's been noticeable with Bellingham, who has good attacking AI. They just make those really good transitional runs, but you don't have to use this if you don't want to. And then, again, cover centre so that they cover the middle area. With the fullbacks, guys, on my more attacking one, the right back, I have them on balanced overlap. Now, this is important because I have my right mid and my left mid on cut inside, which means they transition into the more narrow areas, meaning we don't have much width in the attack. So when we send this fullback forward on the overlapping run, we get that width in the attack. So we have attackers in the narrow areas, and then we also have that wider option to stretch out the defence, which is very important and very underrated. For the other fullback, the more defensive of the two, we have them on stay back and overlap. So we always have at least 3 defenders back at a time, so this left back and the 2 centre backs, but when we send them on the run forward, just like the other fullback, they'll make that overlapping run to give us that width. For the 2 centre backs, we leave them alone, of course, and the keeper, we also leave them alone. But yeah, guys, they are my tactics and instructions for the 4-4-2. Hope you guys have enjoyed or found this useful. If you have, please be sure to drop it a thumbs up, sub to the channel if you're new, and yeah, I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day, and yeah, I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace out, guys. Take care.